What's up, guys? Today I actually have a sort of a debate. It's a debate that I was having with my coworker a while ago that we're constantly arguing about because I realized that the lore for these two universes is odd and very contradictory to one another. Those being God of War and, of course, Doom. Now, I love both these franchises. I like God of War more. And honestly, at first, I thought to myself, ah, Kratos can't beat Doomguy. Doomguy's whole thing is that he, you know, is a killer that murders demons throughout time. And at first, I was thinking Doomguy would probably win. Well, originally, before I even knew Doomguy's feats, I thought that it would obviously be a stomp on Kratos' part, because Kratos is a god. Well, he's a demigod, but he's still a god. And then he told me about like how his armor is supposed to be like invincible. Also, he was blessed by God to be immortal and impervious. And I was like, oh. See, here's the problem though, because Kratos has armor, not armor, has weaponry that can supposedly cut through anything. Like, the Sword of Olympus is supposed to cut through anything. The spear that he got from Deimos is supposed to cut through anything. The shield from Deimos is supposed to be impenetrable. Like, the whole thing about God of War, like, the theme of God of War is that, like, gods are all just hyped up. Like, claims of immortality are, like, impossible to break. All these things are just claims. They're just myths. They're just hearsay. Anyone can die. No one is immortal. No one is all powerful. But then you conflict it with the Doom universe, where their god is supposed to be like the god, like Yahweh type god. So when he says something, that's the fact. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I'm not that far into Doom. I didn't beat Doom 2016, and I didn't beat Doom Eternal, because Doom Eternal is hard. It's a hard game. Also, it's not super story driven, at least where I am right now. It's not super story driven. But I'm going to throw my hat into the ring. Because the problem is that now the debate depends on whether we're in Doom's universe, where there's one true god, or Kratos' universe. See, if we say it takes place in the Doom universe, then their god is the god. There's no god stronger. Even if you say that, like, all the gods from Kratos' universe carry over into that universe, he is still the god. Like, he's the highest power. But the problem with that is that that's now unfair to Kratos. If we move it over to Kratos' universe, you can still say that God gave Doomguy's powers, his stuff is quote-unquote invincible, but it now brings it down a peg. It's not truly invincible armor, because there is nothing that's truly invincible. In, Kratos' universe, everything can be destroyed. Everyone can be killed. There's no one who's truly immortal. There's no one who's truly invincible. So now when we get down to, like, what we have to do then, you could say, we would have to bring them to a neutral universe where they're both correct. But those concepts are inherently antithetical. Because now we're putting Kratos almost at a disadvantage. Because if we're saying Kratos' universe is correct, then all of Kratos' stuff is not impenetrable, and it's not able to pierce through anything. It just can't do it. But Doom's universe is also correct now, so his stuff is actually impenetrable. His stuff is actually invincible. He actually is immortal. But then when we look at feats-wise, Kratos has survived dying. Like, death isn't a permanent thing for Kratos because he can leave hell. He can just escape it. And Doomguy, at the same time, he lives in hell. Like, he went into hell to murder forever. That's just what he decided to do for the rest of his life, which is immortal. So you get to a point where it's like, we have a guy who death isn't a permanent thing for him, and another guy who lives in the concept of hell. So which one would be stronger there? So then you have to think of like, well, what about hacks? What about hacks abilities? And Doomguy doesn't have any hacks abilities. He just has guns. Which, come to think about it, I'm not sure Doomguy can actually hurt Kratos. Like, Doomguy's weaponry is strong, but they're not god tier weaponry. His weapons aren't killing gods. When you take Kratos' weaponry, all of his weapons, every single one, can hurt a god. Can kill a god, potentially. And even if we say they can't, and only like his strongest weapons can, he has the Sword of Olympus, which can steal your powers. It supposedly can go through anything. There's nothing invincible against this sword. So it can technically go through anything. So my question to you is, can it go through the Mjolnir armor? Because in Doom, the armor is invincible, but this sword can go through anything. So, which one is supposed to be correct? If we say the sword can go through the armor, then Doomguy loses because Kratos can steal the blessing from God. He can seal God's blessing into the sword long before Doomguy can ever hurt him. If we say that the sword can't pierce him, well, Kratos may still be able to use it, because he can't pierce like the sword of the armor, but just by touching the armor, he may be able to steal blessings through it. I can't confirm that. That's my personal headcanon. But that's a possibility. If we also take Kratos' other thing that he takes from Hades, his scythes, that can steal souls. Like, they rip the souls out of the people that they attach to. He stole Hades' souls using them. Meaning that he could technically steal Doomguy souls. Now, we can't confirm if he needs to, like, stab into somebody in order to steal their soul. We don't actually know if that's the case. It seemed like it might be the case, since that's what he did to, like, Hades. He ripped his soul out through, like, his shoulder blades and, like, ripped through them. But we don't actually know. So if he can steal Doomguy's soul, it's a question of, is Doomguy's soul protected? Now, I don't know. He's immortal, but so is all the gods, and they all die. But then in this universe, immortality is like a real, tangible thing. So it's just confusing. I don't know who would win in this scenario. But it seems to be leaning a little bit more towards Kratos. Because the deciding factor of whether or not Doomguy can win this is almost just dependent on whether or not you say that his stuff is truly invincible, or if he is truly immortal. And to be honest, even if he is, Kratos can go into the Temple of Time. He has that. I mean, the Temple of the Fates. And go back in time before Doomguy was ever blessed. And kill him then. Granted, that's like a bitch move. And it's like, oh, you know, you're really stretching for that one. He just goes back in time and kills him when he's a kid or something. But it's within the possibility. Like, it's something he could do. Now, my friend tried to make this absolutely terrible argument that, oh, well, he's blessed by God, so he is immortal through time and space. There is no time or place where he isn't immortal and isn't invincible. So if he were to go back in time to kill him then, it wouldn't affect him in the future. He would just still be alive. And that was just absolute. I didn't even know how to respond because that was the stupidest argument I've ever heard in my entire life. But based off of all of this, it seems that Kratos has a higher chance of being the victor, and it's all just dependent on whether or not you want to say the Mjolnir armor is truly impervious, or if Doomguy himself is truly immortal. If he is immortal, then Kratos can't kill him, but also Doomguy can't really kill Kratos. Because Doomguy doesn't really have. He's not faster than Kratos. He's not stronger than Kratos. His weaponry isn't stronger than Kratos. It would be almost a war of attrition. And, I mean, to be fair, Doomguy has been fighting in hell for hundreds of years. If it does come down to a war of attrition, Doomguy would win just because he doesn't seem to need to eat or sleep and can just fight permanently. But also at the same time, that just seems like a bullshit answer. So my final verdict, Kratos has a higher chance of victory, and I feel as though he is more likely to be the winner. But at the same time, Doomguy's feats are stupid, and they are just not fair. Thank you all for watching. I hope you'll visit me for the next video. I love ranting. I started so angry when I started this, and now I'm like nice and calm. So thank you all for joining me on this journey. Have a great day.